All right, everyone, we've got a lot of Syria news right now to discuss. The first thing that I'll say, let me just get something off of my chest and out there. The fact that Trump is more competent than Obama on foreign policy, I honestly believe that, does not magically make me pro-war. I absolutely oppose the concept of even staying in Syria, let alone increasing our presence, declaring war on Assad, striking an airbase, whatever. Last night, airbase in Homs gets hit in the wake of reports that, Assad gassed civilians. Now, like before, several times before they verified that Assad had deployed some sort of agent on people, they claimed that it had happened, and it turned out that it was actually the FSA. In one case, they had, I guess, accidentally shelled a nerve gas supply of some sort, and it was an accidental release. On several occasions, they deployed chlorine gas. It wasn't Assad that deployed them, though. The UN had to come out with their report months later after U.S. Congress shies away from the concept of striking Assad. What Trump has done is exactly what Obama wanted to do. Obama said, hey, America, I want to go strike Assad. When he realizes how much outrage there is at the concept of striking Assad's forces, because people are like, what's the fucking point? It's not going to accomplish anything. Might cause a larger war. We're afraid we're going to end up invading another fucking country because we've seen this before, and they were right to question it. When the polls came out saying, 70% of Americans oppose even being involved there, let alone actually conducting strikes, Obama gave a weak-ass caveat after the fact, said, I like the idea, but I've got to ask Congress first, so I'm going to ask them. Congress says no. House of Commons in the UK does the same thing. Trump attacking the airbase very early on in his presidency, I happen to completely oppose. I thought it was unnecessary. He's doubling down on that. The fact that Bolton is now in power in the White House is really concerning you. Bolton, that guy intricately linked to the Iraq War. What a fun time that was. All I expect now is Donald Trump summons Dick Cheney for a late-night ice cream party. No, I oppose the idea of striking Syria. I think it's a terrible idea. And then they hit yesterday. And at first people assumed the U.S. had hauled off and that Trump had said, okay, we're retaliating. We're basically do what we did before. I understand that striking one airbase isn't probably going to cause a larger war, but it is an act of war. If Mexico were to say, well, we're pissed at Trump, so we're going to bomb a U.S. airbase, if they could. They're physically capable. And they decided to run a couple bombers over and they take some pot shots at some military asset in Texas, whether or not they kill anybody. We would declare it an act of war. We'd be like, what are you smoking? What happened? Is there a coup going on? Is there a civil war erupting that we just, didn't notice? We'd be really fucking concerned and there'd be a hell of a lot of firepower ready to retaliate. The only reason that's not happening here, in the wake of Trump's bombing of an airbase, and now apparently Israel is actually, I guess, the nation that decided to bomb it. The only reason that's not happening is, of course, Assad does not have the military capability of going toe-to-toe with Israel. Now, he would get wiped off the face of the earth. That includes if he was working actively with Iran at the time. Iran and Syria combined do not have the kind of firepower the Israeli military has. Israel would wipe the floor with them. They don't want to have to get involved. They're just hoping it's a limited response. As for the U.S., he couldn't even attack us. We can hit him from offshore without him having the ability to even retaliate. But why would I want to attack Assad? Look, the reason why there are problems in Syria is largely because of years of failed shitty Obama policy arming Islamo-fascist groups that they ignored ISIS, or ISIS would attack them, wipe them out anyway, because they were honestly just better at fighting, and then take all of their weapons. And a lot of those FSA members, when they saw that they were going to get screwed by Assad anyway, a lot of them defected to ISIS to begin with, bringing all of those tanks and other assets with them. Remember that time that ISIS gained a bunch of U.S. surplus from the Persian Gulf era that was lying around in Iraq that we had given to the interim government there? Oh, here, have some late last-gen model tanks and troop carriers and artillery pieces and trucks and everything else. And ISIS is like, thank you, Uncle Sam. Thank you for leaving this material. They managed to gain access to one of Saddam's nuclear facilities that still had some contaminated. Why there was still contaminated bullshit there is beyond me anyway. Everyone was worried they were about to set off a dirty bomb in Riyadh or something, or Tel Aviv. But I oppose Israeli action. Why is Israel getting involved? Is it because Bashar al-Assad moved some tanks to the buffer zone and you told him that's not a great idea and then you decided to strike an airbase? What happens if there is a shooting war involving Israel? You know, that gets us involved. You know, Netanyahu, you asshole. You're the one who came forth. He's like, oh, it'll be a wonderful time if you attack Iraq. You'll be greeted as liberators. Wasn't it Netanyahu that did that? I know it was the head of Israel. Can't remember whether it was Ariel Sharon at the time or not. But Israel comes forward. The U.S. says, oh, you'll be greeted as liberators. Hillary Clinton echoes this line. She was there. She echoes that exact speech when she comes out in support of getting rid of the evil Saddam Hussein, who has chemical and bioweapons. He's a horrible dictator. He's a threat to our allies. We have to get rid of him immediately. She buddies with George W. And then after the fact, she pretends that she was never in favor of it. Whereas Trump was actually more or less against the invasion of Iraq. He's like, yeah, maybe we should do something about Saddam. Everyone thought that was a pro-war statement. No, it was a pro-assassination statement. That was a statement of, hey, I wonder what would happen if we could get 12 really well-trained Marine snipers into Iraq wearing burqas or something. You think they could get close enough to Saddam to blow his head off during a speech? Yeah, we probably could, said every sane person in the Pentagon. Might be a little bit messy. They're probably on a suicide mission, but yeah, we don't have to start a larger war. What's going to happen? Uday takes over. And then Qusay tries to kill him to take over. And then Chemical Ali tries to take over, and then you get a collapse. Which is why they didn't do that, probably. Well, yeah, what did you get in the wake of getting rid of Saddam and nation building? Collapse. Wonderful times. And then you abandon them. Obama abandons them. ISIS comes in. We go back in, surge back into Iraq. Now we have to fight for another half decade. I don't want to see... Look. A bunch of millennials had to die or get shot at and get PTSD or get injured or whatever over in Iraq. It's like the millennials entering the military, people, late teens, early mid-20s, strong, prime of life, get sent over to get, shot at, basically. Okay, and we waste time and trillions of dollars. Tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of Iraqi civilians die as a direct result of our actions. Hundreds of thousands, certainly more indirectly. In the wake of that, you get famine, you get cholera, you get lack of water, you get starvation, everything under the sun, everything bad, militants, infighting, tribal warfare, everything, the whole 9 yards. That's what happens. If we go into Syria, why should it be any different? What, is the weak Iraqi government going to be able to help us? Are the Israelis going to help occupy Syria? Yes, Golan Heights, certainly. Other than that, no, don't count on it. Our buffer zone just increased a little bit. Yeah, huzzah. And we gained 2 extra fucking small villages and some rocks. That's what there is in Syria for the most part. It's crazy to think about striking. The Fox News has a poll. Says, do you think the U.S. should strike Syria in retaliation for Assad gassing people? First, you're kind of begging the question there. Have you proved to me, beyond a reasonable doubt, here's the litmus test, that he even deployed chemical weapons? No, you haven't. Let's say that you do. Why do I care? It's not like other regimes don't butcher their own people constantly. The Saudis do. I never saw anyone claiming we should invade there. There's all sorts of... It's the Middle East. What do you expect? Well, who's clamoring to reinvade any of these other countries? Oh, Pakistan, human rights violations, we're going to invade. China, human rights violations, we're going to invade. Yeah, just ignore some medical, the U.S. government infecting people with syphilis in Central America decades ago for medical experiments. Yeah, it's not bio-warfare at all. I think it would be if the governments had known about it at the time. I think they would have been mighty upset. As Trump said, are we so perfect? Are we completely blameless in the history of the world? No. Now, I'm going to favor the U.S. over any of its adversaries, but when I look over at Syria, I say, what risk are they to me personally? What risk does Assad pose to my health and well-being? None, unless we get into a war with Syria. So I'm going to oppose that. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. The fact that the president is Trump, and so he's sane compared to Obama on foreign policy. He doesn't try to micromanage his generals and says, okay, Mattis is in charge because he knows what he's fucking talking about. Trump is good at delegating. He's more like an Eisenhower than Obama being more like a Truman. Obama's like, the buck stops here. I will make the final decision on this, even though I have no military training at all. Trump's like, hey, I was a cadet, basically, and, so Mattis will handle it. I prefer Trump's method. But the fact that I think he's sane and would at least try to do a good job doesn't mean I want a war in Syria. I don't want to strike them. I don't want to fire a single bullet in Syria. I don't even think we should have a single man in Syria. Why? What's the fucking point? What are we accomplishing? It's been years and years we've had this sort of simmering low-level involvement in Syria and certainly a larger involvement in neighboring Iraq. What have we done? We've spent trillions of dollars. Well, I guess we've got lots of troops with combat training. That's a bonus. You know, people don't want to have to face off against a country that has several million actual veterans who saw, some degree of foreign theater action who now own, AR-15s. Okay, we got a really good civilian militia that can defend us in case of domestic attack. Should it cost trillions of dollars? I think there's better ways to handle that scenario. No, I don't think we need to get involved in Syria. I don't have compelling evidence Assad gassed anyone. I condemn striking Syria at all. If we want to strike anyone, it should be the FSA. Israel's not hitting them, though. They're hitting Assad's targets. Why? I don't understand. What's the fucking point? Okay. Go ahead. Start a war that we have to finish. What a wonderful time. Yes. See, that's the problem. This happened in World War I. What happens? A smaller country acts aggressively towards a larger one, has to get its big buddies involved, and pretty soon all of Europe erupts into war other than like Switzerland and a few other sane places. And then the Swiss are like, oh, leave. Well, maybe in the next one we'll participate, guys. We're still counting the money that we've got. Leave us alone. Basically, the bank of the world in Switzerland. The U.S. should not have to get involved to defend another country again. I'm tired of this bullshit. We've seen it before. Oh, we got to get Osama. We got to put 70,000 dudes in Afghanistan to march around for 10 years without capturing him, by the way. It cost a lot of money and was pointless. Yeah, and thousands of dudes died. Wonderful. Now, we've lost so badly in Afghanistan, we're trying to partner with the Taliban. Think about it. Big bad Taliban. Bush was like, oh, they're the greatest evil, and Osama's allies. Now we have to partner with them because ISIS is a great time. He's Bin Laden from down in hell is looking up and grinning because he fundamentally won in Iraq against the world's most powerful military. Now they're talking about Syria. So Afghanistan. Iraq, increased involvement in the Korean Peninsula. Now we're talking about Syria. Maybe we get involved in Venezuela. Who knows? Maybe we'll march into Yemen next. No, sorry, it's defensive war, yeah. War in the name of defending an ally that's actually at significant risk, okay. Otherwise, I'm completely anti-war, and I'm sorry, the only country in the world today that has acted in such a way that we would be justified in preemptive strikes of any kind is North Korea. And they're at the table now, too. They had a chat with China. They talk about maybe we can meet with Trump. Okay, let's have a love fest, Donald. That's what you promised us. No more of these shitty foreign wars. Bolton and some others will probably try to convince him, hey, you should just, a little bit of war will be good for your approval ratings. Don't worry, we'll just conduct a few strikes. And then you know what they'll do behind the scenes? They'll manufacture a scenario in which Trump has to issue a greater response. Oh, yeah, those assassins we sent in to get Assad, well, he just had their heads blown off with artillery pieces. So, now we need to invade because, it's an act of war or something. That's the sort of thing the deep state likes to do. It's sort of like Iraq. Oh, Saddam has all this botulism, which he didn't have. Oh, he has nerve gas. Apparently not. He had plenty of mustard gas. Woohoo, what a fucking great time. Okay, and skin irritant, basically. Compared to modern chemical weapons, yeah, this World War I era bullshit isn't going to do much against dudes that are wearing gas masks, but okay, big threat. We got to go invade and kill 500,000 people because of that. Yeah, other countries have it too, but we're not worried about the Chinese chemical stockpiles, or Korea's chemical stockpiles, or Russia's, or our own chemical stockpiles. By the way, did you know the U.S. does have an active chemical weapons program? What, so we can be trusted with it because we would never use it? What's the point of even bothering to have it then? I think nuclear weapons would be much better. We should build more nukes and just dissuade people. We should be so big and powerful and nasty that no one ever wants to attack us. And then we can have the most pacifistic foreign policy possible. I think that mutually assured destruction can maybe work in our favor. I think that they're worried that Trump's going to actually partner with Russia and there won't be a Cold War for them to exploit for greater spending and greater weapons sales to other countries. I think that might be what they're worried about. That's about all. Peace out.